Hello, Camille Campbell here. Today I am going to break down exactly how to double your list growth and list size with a high converting pop-up. This is super important. It is the first step to taking your email and SMS to 30 to 50% of your total store revenue. So let's get right into it. All right, so why does this matter? You are probably spending tens of thousands, if not hundreds of dollars every single month, every single year to drive traffic to your website. The reality is so are thousands of different brands. And in 2026, the competition's only going to get harder. Consumers have more options, more distractions, more brands fighting with their attention than ever before, which means owning your data and having direct line to your past, present, and future customers is only going to become more important. So rather than spending thousands every single day to drive traffic that won't come back, you need to capture, nurture, convert, and retain that expensive traffic with a high converting pop-up. And as I said, it is the first step to building an email and SMS machine. And that's exactly what this blueprint will help you do. I'm Camille Campbell, founder of Noti Nectar, an email and SMS agency that helps 7 to 8 figure brands scale and retain customers. Enough about me, let's continue. What we're going to break down in this video is what's a pop-up. That'll be super quick. I'm sure you know, that's why you're here. The importance of the pop-up, the most common mistakes, pop-up principles. This is going to be super important, and the actual foundation and framework around what builds a high converting pop-up. And then the actual technical step-by-step guide, so you can literally finish watching this video and go set it up yourself and understand why, which will help you scale in the long run. And then I'll provide you with some extra tips and tricks like winning pop-up swipe files so you can have some reference, as well as how to actually optimize an A and B test and what you should optimize. So what is a pop-up? A pop-up is a sign-up form that appears on your website so you can collect emails and phone numbers. This is also, again, the first step to turning email and SMS to 30 to 50% of your total revenue. And so many brands overlook the importance of list growth in the pop-up. They just throw one up, leave it, set it and forget it. It's super important. So I'm really glad you care and you're here because it is very important and it should not be overlooked. So the importance of a pop-up, the cost of a bad pop-up. Most people who click an ad and land on your website, as I'm sure you know, are not going to purchase right away. They need education, they need nurturing. And if you have a poor pop-up or none at all, you're never going to see them again and your competitor is going to win them over. But if you can capture these ad clickers you paid so much for, you can then educate and convert them through email. Now, the result of a high converting pop-up, now you do actually get to nurture, educate, and convert those cold visitors into not only just one-time buyers, but repeat buyers, which is super important. And when you know how to implement a correct email and SMS strategy, which starts with list growth, you can look at an 8 to 12x ROAS on those customers who do sign up and who do convert. So here's just an example of what this can look like. But say you have 20,000 monthly visitors with an average order value of $86. Your current pop-up conversion rate is 2.5, which is super low. You want to be 10% above ideally. 9% is not bad, but we typically shoot for 10% plus with our clients. So let's say your list growth a month, just based on numbers, is 500, which means your welcome flow with around a 10% conversion, let's say, would be 4,500. Now, if you could even just double this, obviously it would go from 45 to 9,000 a month. But ideally, to get at a good and a great pop-up, you want to be at least 9%, which is over a 3x, which does take time. You're not gonna, after you watch this video and you set everything up, it's not gonna just magically like 4x your welcome flow revenue, because there's more that goes into it, but it does take time. But once you do get to that 9% here, you literally over 3x your list growth, which does two things, right? It's going to convert more of those cold buyers who don't convert initially, but you're also boosting your overall revenue beyond just welcome flow, right? You have your abandonment flows, you have your post-purchase flows, as well as your campaigns. So your overall revenue from email and SMS is going to grow. But just looking at those numbers from the welcome flow, that's $16,000 a month. That's over a 3x. Over the scale of a year, you started with $54,000, which turned into $192,000 every single year. 6 figures versus 5 figures. So that is the power of list growth. Now, the most common pop-up mistakes, we will go through them and then we'll explain what you should actually be doing. So the biggest one I see, your form is just too small. You want to immediately grab attention. So you want it to cover at least 75% of the screen. I like to do full screen, but at least 75 and you're golden. This is a horrible example by Fender, which we're actually going to use them as the example for the pop-up today because I love Fender, don't hate, and this is just atrocious. All right, number 2, the offer is too small. A lot of things too small here. Your offer, you want that to be the star of the pop-up. As soon as someone sees your pop-up, boom, they know what they're being offered. If there's any friction, as I'm sure you know, throughout the entire e-com funnel, you're going to get lower conversions. And so we really want to focus on people signing up and being able to just immediately make a decision, whether it's yes or no. If they can even make a decision, they're just all going to be no. So for example, this one is way too small. Wait before you go is the first thing I see. The first thing I should see is 20% back on your first order. That's a really good offer, and they're stuffing it down here in the pop-up. And then third, and honestly most important, is a bad offer, which we'll dive into a little deeper. But A lot of consumers now are unfazed by 10%. You have to get creative here, which again, we'll dive into a little deeper, but things like dollar amount off instead versus mystery discount, free gift, free shipping. You really just want to think, what is an incentive that my audience specifically would trade an email for, their email for? So again, we'll go a little deeper into that, but as you can see here, join the Space Milk journey, get notified, free recipes and deals. Honestly, free recipes, not a bad offer, but they should have made that the main thing here. But just join the Space Milk journey is not really enticing enough for me to just give you my email, knowing you're going to email me, right? For bad timing, you don't want the pop-up to fire too soon. You're going to irritate people. I'm sure you get irritated when that happens. I get irritated when that happens. We don't want to do that. We want people to buy your products. So we don't want it to fire too soon. We don't want to wait, and we don't want to wait too long when someone's deep into your product page, reading the description, and boom, now I get a pop-up. That's going to irritate them as well. Or they might have totally left your site before you even got the chance to ask for the email. So typically between 4 and 12 seconds is best. And again, we'll delve into it a little deeper in a second. 5, it's overwhelming. You do not need to do a lot. That is the best thing about a pop-up and really email marketing in general is the more simple, the more clear, the better the conversion rate. We do not need all of this text. Now this text they do need because it's the phone number, but all of this we don't need. The colors are just, they don't jive well. Keep it simple. Like even if you don't know what to do, you have no creative ability, throw up a white background with black text and you're golden. We just don't want it to be too overwhelming. Again, we want them to immediately see the offer and make a decision. The offer is the main star of the show. We don't need a ton of colors, a ton of text to explain everything. Keep it simple. Your copy should be less than 10 words, and you don't want to ask for everything at once. You want each input on their own step, which we'll get into in a second. And 6, I see this a lot, and I didn't think I would as I was building out this, but a lot of pop-ups are not optimized for mobile. These ones, as you can see, they built for the desktop and just allowed it to be the mobile one as well. It does not cover 75% of the screen. This one is very, very clearly not even optimized. And this one is just, these are supposed to be buttons, which this would have been a great pop-up if it actually fit the screen. It looks like they kept all the images. It's just unoptimized for mobile. I don't have to go much into this. I'm sure you know how important being optimized for mobile is. So now let's get into the actual pop-up principles. You know everything that you shouldn't do. Now what should you do? So let's make that super, super clear. First, you need a good offer. Most important. Like I said, 10% off is not going to cut it anymore. If you have a high AOV, let's say over $500, it's going to sound a lot better saying $50 off versus 10% off. Another thing you can do here is say you cannot give any more than 10% off. You can't think of anything else. Just say mystery discount and then they'll get sent the 10%. People are still more likely to opt in. The goal is to get them to opt in, right? So if you frame it as a mystery discount, it's a lot more enticing, but even cashback works really, really well. Do you want 30% cashback on your next order? That's also another great offer. 2, as I mentioned, your offer needs to be the biggest aspect of your form. Just like how Supergroup did, want 10% off, I immediately know what's being offered to me. I don't have to think about it. I have to scroll like, why is this popped up on my screen? Now I'm agitated. I'm just going to leave the whole website. It's super clear. Look how simple that is. I told you white with the image on top. All you need, you're golden. Like, make sure your offer is huge. 3 is going to be get a micro commit. Now, what does that mean? Rather than me just saying want 10% off, having an email box here for them to put their email and saying claim discount, we're going to get them to commit to something. So there are 4 main ways that you can do this. These are the 4 best ways to do this. So first up, we have the just ask, which is literally saying, hey, do you want 10% off? Or you've got 10% off, and have the text here, claim discount, no thanks, I'll pay full price, exactly how Supergroup has it. Then you have your spin to win. This is another great way to get a micro commit. Once someone spins, oh my God, I won 25% off. They're going to want to keep going. Next is the uncover your discount. Obviously here, the best offer to have is mystery discount. It just works really well here. But this is where you would set up tiles, someone clicks and they get their mystery offer. And then my personal favorite is going to be the quiz. So this is where I say you got a mystery discount, you got 10% off, whatever your offer is. To claim your discount, tell us what's bothering you most right now. And then you have all of these. I would recommend sticking to like 4 answers max, but this is also fine. I'm sure they're converting really, really well. So these are going to be your 4 ways to get a micro commit. If you just don't want to do it and you just want to ask for email, you can as well. Just make sure you follow every other part of this guide. But I do recommend getting a micro commit. It works super, super well. Once people commit mentally, they're like, oh, I want to finish. I want to work for it. I already said I'm down. So I would recommend doing this. But if not, just follow everything else. And then 4, each input, which I talked about earlier, needs to be on its own step. You don't want to overwhelm customers. Again, we want to keep everything so simple and as little friction as possible. It would be the micro commit, then you're going to ask for email, then you're going to ask for phone number, then you're going to have your thank you page telling them to check their email or just telling them to continue shopping. So you don't want to have name, phone number, email, right when you pop it up. No one wants to fill that out. As we know, attention spans have got smaller and smaller. People want to look for what they were looking for and move on. So we want to make it super simple for them. Next, we got, again, make sure it covers at least 75% of the screen. We want it nice and big. And then 6, less than 10 words a copy. So even if you do the quiz, this is why I use this as an example, you want to keep it still super short. We got the offer big. You've got a mystery discount. To claim, let us know, what are you most interested in? Electric guitars, acoustic guitars, basses, amps, and effects. And this is one I made. Fender should definitely do something like this. Nonetheless, just keep the copy short. You don't need to make it long. 7, the 4 to 12 second delay we mentioned. This is going to be the sweet spot. You might get great results at 4 seconds and be like, oh, this is good. But little did you know, 6 seconds would have performed the best. So the best way to do this, you want to A/B test, which I will show you how to set up at 4 seconds, and then your A should be 4 seconds, and your B should be 10 seconds. Test those, whichever gets best results. Say it was 4. You're then going to go to 9 seconds versus 4 seconds, and keep doing that. So say 9 seconds wins, and you're going to go to 5 seconds versus 9 seconds. If that makes sense, you're just going to slowly close that gap until you find the winner. But 4 to 12 seconds typically is the sweet spot. 8, get rid of the X, which I will show you how to do. I don't know about you, but a lot of people, as soon as they get a pop-up, they're just trained, boop, I'm going to exit, boop, I'm going to exit. The thumb is ready to go, locked and loaded. So instead of having the X super visible here, let's say, hey, slow down, read the offer. If you don't want it, just click no thanks. So that is what we want to do. We're not trying to be aggressive or rude here. It's simply just, hey, read the offer first, calm down, and then leave if you don't want it. So that's essentially what we're doing here, just giving people the opportunity to actually read the offer. All right, so now let's break down how to actually build your high converting pop-up. So first, before we hop into Klaviyo, you got to decide your offer. So we did talk about this, so I won't delve too deep. Here are some of my favorite offers to run. Of course, percentage off. If you can't do over 10%, do a dollar amount off. A mystery discount works incredibly well, and you can still keep the 10% off. Free gift, free shipping, free guide, giveaway entries, and one of my favorites that I think are underrated is cashback. Again, just think, would my customers give their email for this? 2, you're going to pick your style. So we talked about the just ask, the quiz, uncover your discount, and spin to win. If you don't know where to start, because I do recommend testing all 4, unless maybe the spin to win just looks a little cheap for your brand, which is totally fine. I would recommend starting with the just ask and the quiz. 3, now it's time to design your pop-up, which we are going to go do now. So now that we're actually in Klaviyo, it's time to build the pop-up. It's game time. Let's do it. We're going to come over here to sign up forms, and we're going to create a form. Now, there's a ton of different templates you can choose from. I recommend just choosing a multi-step one. It'll just make it a little easier. So we'll come here and we'll choose this Black Friday multi-step. We're going to change everything, so don't think too deeply into it, and let's go ahead and create our form. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is I will show you how to do this on mobile and desktop, but we are going to just work on mobile for this one. So let's go over here to targeting and behavior, and let's do just mobile only. Now, first things first, you have your teaser. I really only recommend it on desktop. You can keep it on mobile. I think it just causes a little too much friction. Nonetheless, it is up to you. You can change where it's at. And you have complete control over the design here. You can even do a circle, you can do a rectangle. For the sake of this video, because I don't recommend it, we're going to go ahead and delete it. All right, so now we have our email opt-in. What we're really going to build right now is our micro commit, and then we will copy it for email opt-in and SMS opt-in. It'll make everything so much easier. So let's just start designing. First thing you want to do here, let's go ahead and change our size. I recommend just doing 750 height, 500 width. It is up to you. Here's where you can add images, your logo, all of that stuff. So let's go ahead. We're going to use Fender as an example. That's obviously way too large. So let's bring that logo down a bit. So we have your logo here. We have your logo here. If you want to add another image on top, you can come here to blocks and you can add an image wherever you want. You can do it at the bottom. You can do it at the top. It's up to you. For the sake of this, we'll just stick with the logo. You can also add a background image here. All right, so let's start off with just our offer here. So for this one, we're going to just build a just ask. It is the most simple and it's still super high converting. So how I like to do this is you've got a all caps mystery discount. Now, obviously, if you're doing some sort of percentage off, you can do, you've got 20% off. And that works as well. But for the sake of this, because it's my favorite, we're going to do a mystery discount. All right, we don't want this to be bold. We're going to bring this down to about a 20, maybe 25. We'll do 25. Remember, we want this to stand out. We want this to be large. We want this to be big. 60 looks amazing. All right, so now we want to make this on brand, obviously. We're going to go with black here, finally. And now we're just going to work our way down. Now, remember, this is where we're going to get our micro commit. So we don't want to ask for email immediately here. So we're going to go ahead and just delete this block. So this is going to be our first button. Instead of continue, I like to do something like claim discount or unlock my discount. We're going to make this text bigger. 25 should be good. And then we're going to come here and actually edit the button. Obviously, we want to make this on brand, so we could do black. I think we're going to do this red color here to match the logo. That looks sick. And then we're just going to duplicate this button. Now, it's not actually going to be a button, but first let's fix some padding here. Let's do about a 10 padding. Now, this is going to be where they can X out of the pop-up. So the X here is actually white and matches the background, but for the sake of this video, let's make it black. So if this is what your X looks like, we're just going to take the opacity and just crank it down to 0. Now, people can't see it. If they magically do, they can still click out. But the point is, remember, we want them to read the offer. So here we're going to change the text to, you can do no thanks. What I like to do is just no thanks. I'll pay full price. So they really know what they're giving up here. And we're going to take this button as well and turn the opacity all the way down. We're going to make the text black. We obviously don't want it that big. We can do about a 14. And instead of bold, we're going to make it normal. Now, you do want to make sure the action for this is show next step, which it is. And then this one should be close form. So boom, that is pretty much the micro commit here. We got our logo, we got our huge offer, claim discount, or no thanks, I'll pay full price. So we hit all of the principles. We have a pop-up that's at least 75% of the screen. They cannot super easily exit. They have to at least read the offer, and they can still, of course, exit out with no thanks, I'll pay full price. We got our large button using copy like claim discount or unlock discount. Offer is huge and a good offer. So this is a pretty good pop-up. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to clone and we're going to complete all of the other steps. A lot of this is just going to stay the same. We're just going to add our email input. So let's edit the name here to email opt-in. And I forgot to actually change this to micro commit. So we're going to leave all of this the same. We're just going to add our email input right above this block. Now we do need to match all of the properties of the button to this input. So if we can see here, we have 60 padding and then our height is 56. So we're just going to do the same thing here. We're going to add 60 padding on the sides. We're going to go to style menu and we're going to change the height to 56. Boom. So now obviously we do want to change the border color. You can do black. You can do the bright red. I think for this, we're going to do black. I think that looks pretty good. The placeholder, I would recommend you can do black, you can do gray. I like to do kind of like a medium gray, a schmedium gray. Placeholder text, you can leave, it's not that deep. I like to just put email. And then for the email opt-in, let's just make sure to make it show next step. So there we go. We have the email input step done. Offer is still huge. They put in their email, they can claim discount. I actually do like to change this copy here a little bit to unlock discount. Again, you can test it, you can play around with it. That is something you can test, which I will show you in a second. And then our final step is SMS opt-in. We're going to go ahead and delete that so we don't have to redesign everything and we can make sure everything is congruent. We're going to clone this again and we're going to change the name to SMS opt-in. So obviously, instead of email, we're going to be asking for phone number. So we're going to come here, we're going to grab phone number, put it right over the button. Now this text does not need to be this large. We can change it, make it small. We're going to make sure it aligns with the buttons just so it looks halfway decent. Now you can put the text here or here. People do it differently. For the sake of this, I'm just going to leave it. I'm actually going to just throw it on top there. And then for phone number, go ahead and add your label here. We're going to do the same thing and just make sure it all aligns. Once you do change like the input settings, it should stay the same throughout. You would just have to change the padding here. All right, so this last step never actually got recorded, so don't mind the outfit change, but your last step is going to be the success page. Now this one you do not want to duplicate just because it already kind of has everything you need here. So we are going to go ahead and replace this with the logo again, and we're going to put it down back to 100. Here, obviously, we're going to change the text color to be our black again. You can leave thanks for signing up. Just kind of put whatever you would for your brand here, not too deep. Now you can either prompt them to go check their email to help boost open rates for their discount, or automatically apply the discount. I typically just tell them to check their email. So we can just do check your inbox for your mystery discount. Oh. Obviously, we want to make this a little smaller here. So the last thing we need to add here is the button. There's two options of what you can really do with this button. There's a few, but there's two main options. You can either go to inbox or close form. Now, if you choose go to inbox, since we are prompting them to go check their inbox, this will not be supported for some providers. And if it is not supported, the button won't display. So to just play it safe, we're going to do close form, and we're going to make this copy just continue shopping. And of course, we want to make sure this button matches all of the other buttons in all of the other steps. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to change it back to that red we've been using. Now the height we used was 56, and then the padding was 60. We can make this text a little bigger as well here, which I believe was 25. That's good. Now we need to allow them to be able to exit out of this form. So let's go ahead and change our button back to black and put the opacity all the way up. So this is your success step. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Don't be afraid to, if you, instead of thanks for signing up, you might have like your go-to, like welcome to the sauce family, something of that nature that can go there as well. All right, so now we have our micro commit, our email opt-in, our SMS opt-in, and our success page. So now that we've made the mobile form, I'm going to show you how to make the desktop form, and it's going to be 10 times easier since we already have the layout. So you're going to go here and you're going to clone the exact one you just made. We are going to just add desktop. All right, so first thing we want to do is go to targeting and behavior, and instead of mobile only, we're going to do desktop. So now that we have changed it to desktop only, there's only a few things we really need to change. So we can have no side image. You can add an image on either side. We can make it full page. You can do flyout. I recommend, of course, doing a pop-up or a full page. For the sake of this, we're going to actually do a full page. Now, this can be a lot. So if you are not comfortable doing a full page just yet, just stick to a pop-up. You, of course, just want to make it bigger. So we're going to come here and see how big. It was not supposed to be 100. We should make it here. So this wouldn't be bad. You can also change the height to 600. You could just play around with it, see what works best. But again, you want it to be big. The bigger, the better. So for the sake of this, we'll do a full page here. So everything is going to stay the same. Show next step. This button's going to show next step. So everything here is going to remain the same. All we had to do was just change sizing. And again, if you do want to add a right image, you can do that as well here. So I'm going to go ahead and actually upload an image I found of a base. Obviously, you probably want to choose an image better than this. But just for the example here, if you did want to do the pop-up, this is what that would look like here. So this looks like to be a decent size, 800 by 600. You can also, again, go even bigger here. Go ahead and up that to 1,000. And that looks amazing as well. In fact, I think I'd recommend this here, 1,000 by 600 or even 800. 600 looks a little more put together here. Play around with it, see what works best. 800 just isn't doing it. All right, so that looks pretty good. 700 might be good. Again, figure out what you like. That actually looks pretty solid. That's probably 1,200, 700, or 600, 1,000 looks pretty good. So that's literally it. It's not gonna be any different. You're gonna publish that. So now that you have actually configured your form, let's set up your first A/B test, which we'll go into in a second on the best things to test, which to test first. But when you do create your A/B test, you're going to come over here to create A/B test. I'm just going to make this pop-up video. So your first one, for example, let's say we are testing time delays. So for A will be 4 seconds, B will be 12 seconds. Let's create our test. And boom. Your A/B test has been created. So we have A and we have B. So we do actually have to go in and change these. So rather than 4 seconds, 5 seconds, we're going to change that to 4 seconds. And then for our B test, we are going to go in and change this to 12 seconds. So that would be your first test. And then you continue to test settings. And for weight, we want to do manual 50/50. And then you're just going to publish your A/B test. All right, so now that you know how to actually build a high converting form into Klaviyo, let's break down how you're going to get to that 10% plus. So you've built it, you've gone through everything. To make it a little simpler, just go through this checklist, make sure you did everything correctly. Each input has its own step, it's big, the offer's big, everything we just talked about is nail on the head. But if you followed it, everything should be marked off good, but it's always good to double check. Now you have to optimize. You're not going to 3x your opt-in rates overnight. You put this up, you expect to wake up tomorrow to 1,500 new subscribers. It just doesn't work that way. You got to test, right? So the best way to do this, of course, is A/B testing, which we briefly went over. But let's break down the best 5 things to test, from the highest leverage to the lowest leverage, but it's still important to test each. All right, so the first test I would run off the bat, I know I showed you timing, but the first thing I would test is your offer. Now, the only thing you would change in that pop-up is just the copy. So instead of mystery discount, you might want to test 15% off or free guide. So the only thing that's going to change in that pop-up form is going to be the copy. So do the A/B test exactly how I showed you. Just don't change the timing. Keep the timing the same, and just change the copy. Then you have your style. So what we mentioned earlier about the spin to win, uncover your discount, the just ask, as well as the quiz, test those. So test a quiz versus just ask, or test a spin to win versus just ask, or test a uncover your discount versus quiz. These are going to be the 2 highest leverage. And then the third is going to be that time delay. That one's going to be very high leverage as well. So you want to work the gap, which I just showed you. So you should be good on that one. And then your content, this as well. So your images, you might want to test, if you're Fender, a guitar versus, 6 guitars. So testing your content can be good as well. And then your copy and colors, things like that, your design, you can test. So kind of what I mentioned about how I like to put unlock my offer on that second step, you could test that. On the first step, you could test unlock my discount versus claim discount. These are really good things to test. So these are the 5 tests I would run. So now you have everything to double and triple your list growth, boost those opt-in rates, get them from a 2 to 3% opt-in rate to 10% plus by following this. I hope this was super helpful. If you do want access to this doc here, so you always have it on you, don't have to come listen to my voice again and scroll through and find in the video what you're looking for. You can get access to this doc. Everything's here, everything I just showed you. If you just need the Klaviyo tutorial, that will be clipped up and just put in there, as well as the swipe file with all types of winning pop-ups. If you just need some guidance there, that will also be included. So that will be in the description below. But I hope this was super helpful. If there's any feedback you have, this is my first video, so if there's any feedback, if I talk too fast, my voice is annoying, if I'm too exuberant, let me know in the comments. And I hope this was clear and helps you boost that list growth so that your overall email channel can become a powerhouse for your brand. Cheers, guys.